So we've talked about who these guys are that are doing this eldership training, right? Well, Froggy started off doing eldership, but just like pretty much everything else in his life, we were not able to follow through to the end.
Yeah, it didn't magically happen. So, I don't know. I've done enough psychoanalyzing. I'm just like, the final answer is I don't know.
But on tonight's episode of Burning Butterflies, what was Froggy doing if he was not going to be an elder?
Faith can feel like hearts and butterflies until someone lights a match and burns it all to the ground. Welcome to the Burning Butterflies podcast.
The sad thing is that there's abuse of every kind within the church. But the spiritual abuse is the stuff that just
It's a place there shouldn't be abuse. Like, there just shouldn't be abuse in a place that claims to.
Well, it ruins your soul. If you're new here, we suggest listening to our prologue episode first. This is the story of two women's journey through toxic church culture and spiritual abuse, all while finding healing in the end.
Sometimes it's just the facts, and if you get offended by it, that's a you issue. And if we can't be mature enough to have these conversations, even if some of the topics are difficult, then shame on us.
I mean, I guess kind of get caught up to speed. We talked about, like, he had gone to Mississippi, Tennessee, wherever, to help his brother. And I talked about, I painted my closet. I got that taste of freedom. If we remember correctly, I put in my 3-month note. I'm so funny. I put in like a 3-month note. In 3 months, I'm not going to work here anymore. As a manager at the restaurant I was at, and then COVID happened. And then I was like, well, no, I'm not going to quit my job because, well, that's not the best thing to do right now. And so then life started to get back to normal and everything. Restaurants could open back up. So then it was like, okay, I'm going to stop managing now, but I continued to work at the restaurant. Froggy came back, and like life continued on. And then, so I want to say he came back in like June or July. And
then, what was he doing for work at this point?
Nothing substantial. Like, that's the thing. Like, I only remember him working like odd jobs for people, and not having, well, we could be getting to the point where eventually he goes back to work, for like the appliance company that he used to work for. Like, that he'd been fired from twice at this point. Like, he gets back in, and I'm not sure that we're there yet, but I mean, whatever. We're at the point where the last job he had that I knew about was, and so we could be getting into the point where he gets that back. But I mean, he did odd jobs for people at the church. And then eventually he does, and maybe on a future episode I'll be like, this is the point where I don't remember when he started back, because eventually he does go back to work, like I said, with that appliance company. But and it probably happened right around this time because everything fell through. Like, he was so excited and happy to move. Remember, we were going to move, and he was going to be his brother's right-hand man. Like, this was like, he was going to be management and like the big guy. And then that
finally get a collared shirt.
Yeah. And that all fell through. And so I feel like, I'm glad you asked that, because now I'm thinking about it. It probably was right around this time that's where he went back to work, but I can't tell you the date or the time. So it was odd jobs with people. I bet you he was working for Brock at this time. So Froggy comes back, and like to say that life just returns to normal, but normal for us is toxic and dysfunctional. So I talked about having this great break, and we went through this COVID thing, and it really opened my eyes, and it didn't like shake me in the way like some people, but it really woke me up to what the heck am I doing? Like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what is going on? And then seeing the stark contrast of like, I did stuff. I know it's like I painted my closet, but like I went against my husband and I painted my closet, and I took a step towards independence, and and then I had a breath of fresh air because he was gone, and life, and you could see the stark difference, but also being put in a position, which I know COVID did for a lot of people, where you're looking at your life and you're like, where are my priorities? And we talked about people not coming back to church because they were like, why do I even go to church? Like, what purpose does it serve? And so a lot of people didn't come back to church. And they realized that they didn't self-combust or because they didn't go to church on a Sunday.
Yeah.
But so that's like June-ish, July that Froggy comes back. And then in August, I got a phone call and I got asked if I would be willing to come back and manage. And so some things had fallen through, and I was like, yes, because just as much as, like I said, I was still working there, kind of like I was doing some smaller jobs, but I wasn't there all the time. But some things had happened, and they were just like, hey, would you consider, coming back? And I jumped on that because I was just as, yes, please, can I have my job back?
Yeah.
Well, and so the underlying motivation to that was that I had decided between June, July-ish, and August, that I was done. I was fed up. And I don't know that it was like a strict, harsh, like I wasn't like, I'm done, I'm leaving, right? My marriage. But I was like, I'm really over this.
Yeah.
I'm over this, and I need to figure out a way to get out of this, right? And when you understand like the dynamics of the marriage, it wasn't an easy, like, just cut ties, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of like nuances that go into like, how crazy is this person gonna get, and how do you detach from somebody who may hunt you down and kill you?
Yeah, he went this far this time. How far is he going to go next time?
Yeah. So like,
yeah.
So this is like and so that's probably why I wasn't so like, I'm out of here, see ya. Like, so it wasn't like this big stance, but I had decided that I was done, that I'm like, okay. And so, but I didn't quite know what that was going to look like. And then I had this opportunity to take my job back. And through that opportunity, I was like, okay, like this could be a reality. Yeah. And, so this wasn't like an instant decision. This was over time. Like the wheels started turning. When he came back, it was different. And I was different. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. I'm done, and I'm going to get out of this. And that turned into, once I got my management job back and I had the income and I had the like resources to be like, I could legitimately, like, I'm paying all the bills anyway. Like,
yeah.
What are you here for? Like, life is great when you're gone and everything runs smoothly and is taken care of. So why are you here again? That kind of a thing. And so, but it was a longer process of like, I'm going to do this. Am I going to do this? Can I do this? How am I going to do this? Okay, I'm doing this. Now I have to devise a plan. And so through getting my management job back and going back to work and setting things up, I had decided that I was going to start stashing like money away because I still had to fund everything that was going on in the current household. And still, so I'm like, okay, so I need to have so much money put away so that I can figure this out. And what the plan that I came up with was I wasn't going to kick him out. I wasn't going to do anything. I was going to disappear with my children. I would be local. I would still go to work. I figured that and I was trying to devise all of the nuances of how this was going to work. And so as far as I got in this plan was I had a plan on where I would go, where I would stay. And I was working on then researching how to get him out of the home. Right. And so, but I was going to pack up my children and leave.
So your plan was, I'm going to go somewhere safe.
Yeah.
I'm going to have enough money to go somewhere safe.
Yeah.
And stay there for however long I need to stay there. And then I'm going to
enlist whatever resources that I needed to.
Whether it's calling
safe,
the authorities or whatever. Yeah. And have them remove him from the house. Because remember, listeners, Froggy's name isn't on this. This has been a huge point of contention in their marriage, that this is not his house. He doesn't have this. And I think, oh man, you, as awful as Froggy was and as abusive as Froggy was, it would have been so much worse for you if you were financially stuck. So much more worse. Or if his name was on the deed.
Yeah.
It would have just been a huge issue. And I think that's a really important conversation that maybe we can have over on our Patreon this week, of women getting stuck, because this is coming up in our country. This is coming up in our culture. Just, at the time that we're recording this, not that long ago, there's people from our current country's administration who are sharing things on government social media pages of pastors saying basically the only thing women are good for is to have babies.
Yeah.
And they don't deserve the right to vote. And they want to repeal amendments that take away women's rights to have a voice and have an opinion. And so I think that's a great conversation to continue over on our Patreon.
Totally, the Christian culture is,
because
how many women did you know who had careers and thriving lives and then gave it all up to be housewives?
Yeah.
And I've met senior ladies, older ladies, who don't know what to do with themselves after they're I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I never drove. I never did any. I cooked and that's it. They have no, they don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Because if you would have complied, if you would have just sat down and shut up and done what they wanted you to do, he still would have beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
It's just, you would have been a little higher up on the food chain at Come As You Are, because, I think Tom and Charlotte would have embraced you and your children a whole lot more if you would have tried to be that trad wife.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Who knows? Maybe that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, so did I have all the details worked out? No. But was I was it happening? Yeah. And I probably reworked my plan over the next few months, 100 times, but all I knew was, I needed to be in a place where I could walk away and be set. And then, I would still have my income coming in, but I also needed to be able to pay for where I would be staying and still maintain the payment, still maintain all my bills and everything. So I was getting myself putting away a little nest egg so that, and my biggest motivation on that was so that my kids didn't feel any, they might stay somewhere. We would stay somewhere and that would be an inconvenience to them, but I wanted them to be the least amount inconvenienced.
Yeah.
Right. Still be and make it as nice of a thing as possible. Right. And also not knowing how long I would have to stay, like trying to figure out the laws on what the eviction process would look like, how long that would take. I would have to get my mom involved in that and all that other stuff and all of that. So yeah, I was working on that. Those wheels were turning.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Because at the time that you're planning your escape, you're also supposed to be taking over leadership of women's ministry. So what does that duality look like for you at this time?
Right. Well, and you know what? Like, honestly, like I thought about that. I was already playing that duality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was miserable. I hated my husband. I wanted him to, like, I just hoped he would die half the time. I mean, that's horrible, but I would be like, I could get out of this if he would just die.
Yeah. How many women, like, okay, I'm going to let people in on a little secret. Like, people thought like we sat there and we tore our husbands down in mom's group and things like that. But seriously, like when we would have the raw, honest conversations with each other and everyone would look at each other like, oh shit, we all just said way too much. The amount of women that would be like, if my husband would just die in a car accident, my life would be hard because I have no source of income. I have no nothing. I'm just a stay-at-home housewife, but it sure as hell would make my life a lot easier.
Yeah.
The fact that is how a lot of Christian women live.
Yeah.
Is
because your only way out is
till death do you part, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was already living this duality. And if you remember correctly, because we are at the point in the timeline where things in women's ministry are starting to get a little right?
Yeah. Yep.
So,
well, I feel like we had like this huge rift. Like we wanted to come to the table because we wanted to bring women together. And I think we ended up having this huge chasm of women who loved what we were doing and bringing in that online factor and bringing in that, like, you could listen to it in podcast form and all of those things. They loved that. And then you had the women that were like, I just want to come and eat breakfast and drink coffee.
Yeah.
And
I really feel like, because we're not quite to like, so when I said yes to taking my job, I knew enough had happened that I had seen the writing on the wall that I was fine with going. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we have a couple different things going on with women's ministry. We have a couple different things going on within the church. And some of the story hasn't been told yet because we haven't quite gotten there yet. But by the time the things that we're going to talk about in the future happen, there were little things that had gone on enough. It's like the writing on the wall, right? You start to see things. So you have to remember that Barry's wife is trying to get involved in women's ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte is team Barry's wife. She's trying to save face and she's trying to verbally be team Melissa, team Brandy, but her actions are showing team
Miss America.
Barry's wife, Miss America, right? Tom is team Barry with blinders on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's contention there that's happening. Then what you just brought up, which I hadn't even thought about, was what we were doing with Come to the Table. And I feel like women loved and embraced the idea of what we were doing. They loved it. It was a great idea. But what they didn't like was being confronted with things that they wanted to keep under the carpet, with being confronted with reality, because we were like, no, we want to strip the walls back and talk about, let's be real, because we all sit around in little circles, like you just said, and the truth comes out and we really want our husbands to die. But then we go, oh, just kidding. We don't, and we all know that we're faking it. And I don't think that the women were comfortable with being as confronted as we were willing to be.
Yeah. And because in the beginning, we were very much still serving Kool-Aid in podcast form.
Yeah.
But as we continue, we grow more and more emboldened.
Yeah.
And you and me and Brandy kind of rile each other up. And so we start having conversations about your baggage, and not just in a women's retreat type of way where, oh, I have all my bags and here's all my baggage and I'm just going to leave them at the foot of the cross and it's all going to be better. We legit talked about,
let's open up the bag.
Yeah. You could there might be some stuff in that bag that you want to keep. And so let's empty the bag out and pick up the stuff you want to keep picking up, but leave the rest of the crap.
Yeah.
And no, you're right. I think that was very confronting for women, because this was something different than what we had done in women's ministry before. Beth Moore definitely pushed the envelope, especially at her retreat talks, of trying to go there.
Yeah.
But on a grand scale, church-wide women's ministry, not just at retreat.
Which I also feel like Beth Moore did a lot of what I did too, which was just enough honesty to keep people from digging deeper. When you're in a known dysfunctional, toxic relationship, because Beth Moore and I had we are the token toxic marriage people, right? And so you have to talk about it because people want to know, right? So you got to talk, because it's hello, people know.
Yeah,
it's
everyone knows. Well, and part of the reason everyone knows is because Tom runs his mouth.
Yeah.
Tom is telling everyone that will listen about Beth Moore's husband's problems.
Yeah. So you have to talk about it, but it's so you talk about just enough to satisfy people, but not enough for them to, but you're really still doing the same thing. So you're being only slightly more real, only slightly more authentic, only slightly more honest than the mass majority.
Yeah.
But everybody's putting on a facade. Yeah. And so we haven't covered, I think coming up in the next couple episodes, this episode is spanning in the time. We're not doing this one as chronologically. We said that in the beginning, because there's things that we haven't talked about yet that are happening during this time. For me to say that by the time I took my job back at the restaurant, I knew that me taking, I was over that. I was there's no reason. I quit my job to give myself 100% to this church and to women's ministry and to be the next Charlotte, just to have that carrot not be there.
Yeah.
And so I went back to I was not choosing when at that point I knew that carrot was gone and I was fine going back to work.
And even just hypothetically, let's just say just for funsies that carrot was still there. There is no way Charlotte would hand over her ministry to you if you kick her son out.
Well, right. And it's what's so funny though, is that I wasn't thinking that. So while yes, I was thinking I'm getting out, I don't know when that's going to happen. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and both of those things, I don't think I thought about those things in the same context consciously at the time. I know during that time, I wasn't thinking well, if I get divorced and I can't go to this church, then I'm not going to have those two paths didn't connect in my mind. But looking back at it, they were both dissolving at the same time. And so it didn't matter either way.
Yeah.
So, but so I go back to managing But as far as like the duality and like showing up and still being me and still participating to whatever level I was participating and still, nobody would have been the wiser anyway. Like nobody was the wiser of what was going on in my house anyway.
Yeah.
So nothing changed. We were just as miserable at home and putting on shiny, happy people faces at church,
Yeah.
So, in fact, we were doing such a great job. Remember how, Barry was preaching on Thursdays and people were throwing a fit. So then we had to turn it into small groups so that he could preach to a small circle of men in chairs and everybody else could go and have small groups. So that turned into like, let's let anybody who wants to lead a group have a group, right? Oh, wait. Well, not anybody, but you could apply. So,
well, and I want to point out, because like, remember we had come back from Georgia and we were doing this like, grow gathering stuff. And like, if you wanted to do something, you had to go through kind of like a vetting process, because we're not just going to let anyone do anything. All of that is gone now. Yeah. Like Tom could not care less. He doesn't give a shit. It's gone. It's basically, he still holds the authority to be like, yes or no, this person is or isn't going to do this, or yes, like, there was a woman who wanted to do a Bible study. And at this point, this is when like the real Beth Moore, like not Come As You Are's Beth Moore, but the real Beth Moore had come out and was basically like, the Southern Baptist Convention is toxic AF and I don't identify with them anymore. I don't, and that was blasphemous to Charlotte. Yeah. And a woman wanted to do a Beth Moore study and Charlotte said, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Yeah. So, I mean, there was still that process, but, Froggy's still on I'm going to be the next pastor of Coming to
I dropped out of eldership training, which is the logical next step.
I don't understand the delusion. I can't. I'm sorry.
But I'll be damn, a small group on Thursday night. That's what's going to do it for me.
We have beaten this horse. I'm just resolved to be like, I don't understand the thinking of how like this magic, like this is just magically going to happen. But like, I get it. I mean, I get it. Like we've uncovered the why through doing this podcast, but I'm still thoroughly confused at the level of delusion of these people. So Froggy and I are going to lead a marriage study. And I mean, like, when did his sister come and give that talk? Because we had just started the marriage study right around that time.
Yeah, it was like, I want to say it was like the end of July, beginning of August.
Okay. I'm like going to say, I was like, because maybe he came back earlier, but yeah, June, July, right? So we start this. This is how happening this fast, right? So he comes back from his brothers, his sister's speaking at this thing, and we're leading this marriage study, Bible study for married people, but it's not a marriage. It was not a marriage. It was a non-marriage Bible study for married people, right? I just remember that because we were in our first week or two of doing it when his sister spoke, and she had this really cool like way of like studying the Bible. And so I had made printouts for our Bible study for married people. It was not a marriage Bible study.
Yeah. It wasn't like two becoming one or what's
it
the
was
stupid
not a Bible study about marriage. It was about married people coming together and studying the Bible together, because we refused to do a marriage Bible study. I said, we will kill each other. We are not doing a marriage. I refuse. I'm not doing a marriage Bible study. This is not a marriage Bible study. And I'm only telling you it like this because this is how I presented it to Tom, to Charlotte, to Charlotte's parent, like to not a marriage Bible study. To what's her name? Brock's wife.
Barbara Jean.
Barbara Jean. She kept calling it a marriage. No, it's not a marriage. This is not a Bible study about marriage. This is a Bible study for married people to come together and study the Bible. We are not talking about marriage.
It's no different. Yep, I remember because you and I had a conversation and you made it very, very clear. And so when I was like putting together stuff to like put in the bulletin or promote it, I very much did it like, well, the men have, if you are a man, here are your options. If you are a woman, here are your options. If you are married and you would like to study scripture and grow closer together with the Lord and with each other, here is an option for you.
It was crazy to me. It's crazy to me now, like, to think about, because I guess I never really gave it much thought. Like, I don't know what I thought about the difficulty to get that point across. But now thinking about it, how difficult it was for people to wrap their brain around the fact that we were not doing a Bible study about marriage.
In a place.
Very vocal about, I am not studying biblical marriage.
And in a place where from stage, Tom would preach, you should be praying together, you should be reading scripture together. No one was doing that. Even Tom and Charlotte were doing it. You cannot tell me Tom and Charlotte hit their knees on the edge of their bed every night and hold hands and close their eyes and say their prayers.
No.
Like, they don't do that with each other. No one was doing that. Yeah. So it makes perfect sense why no one could comprehend that aspect, because you were like, okay, everyone should be doing this because this is the come as you are way. This is what we're taught we should be doing. No one was doing it.
Yeah.
Justin and I weren't praying together. We weren't reading scripture together.
No. And I was so, and I guess this is where that duality comes out. I was not signing up for, there was absolutely no way I was going to do a marriage Bible study with my husband in any way, shape, or form, let alone leave. I wasn't going to take one. The last time we did, I threw the book at it. I'm like, I'm not doing it. And I have gotten to a point, we didn't talk about this, but since we're like last chapter, we're wrapping up loose ends. And maybe I mentioned it, but I don't remember mentioning it. Do you remember when we signed those covenants? I think I talked about this in passing. We signed those covenants way back in the very beginning, and you have pictures. Froggy signed it. And we had gotten in a fight one time, and I tore that thing up. Like it was.
Yeah, no, you talked about it. Yeah.
No. Like from that point on, it was like we're never doing another marriage Bible study ever again. So,
well, and it's funny because that annoyed Tom.
Yeah.
He felt like that we needed a marriage class on Thursday night.
Somebody else can do it. We're not doing it.
And he was annoyed by it. And he said something to me in the office. And I said, I'll never teach in a marriage class again. And he's like, why not? You and Justin serve, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I wouldn't do it again. Like every time we take a marriage class, we fight with each other. The last time my husband and I led a marriage study together, he had an affair.
Right. It's never happening again.
So, nope, hard pass.
No.
We're done.
And we're not the only ones. We're not the only ones.
It was it became a comical, like, nope, we're not taking a marriage class. The only people who would sign up for marriage classes are the people who were new to the church.
Yep.
And it was like two reasons why they came to church. One is they are going to take this marriage class because this is what you have to do because we're just checking all the boxes. Or two, you came to church because your marriage is on the verge of divorce and you're trying to
fix your marriage.
Yep. And you're throwing Hail Marys and that is what 90% of people who are in a marriage Bible study are in there for, is a Hail Mary save my marriage situation.
Yep. And it's funny because I would say that was the 90% of our class. Number one.
We were the island of misfit marriage.
Okay. So hold on a second. So this marriage class, let's just talk about this. Brandy and Amanda, I am like, you will show up. You are going to participate in this marriage. they showed up twice and then ditched me, and then showed up like one other time towards the end. So, I'm sticking my tongue out at that. But anyway,
in my defense, my husband's work life was shit at the time.
Yes.
And I had discovered my big girl panties and my big girl voice when I gave Tom my Make Come As You Are Great Again speech. And so I had decided I had boundaries for some reason, magically out of nowhere.
Magically and I was like, had boundaries and ditched out on marriage class.
And I was like, I'm not going to a class for married people if my husband can't come with me.
And yes, that's true. And so you had a really good excuse. And then it was really crazy because like the second week, Froggy's grandparents had to show up and be in the class because they had to know what we were talking about, because nobody could wrap their brain around the fact that it was just a Bible study, not a marriage Bible study. And Tom doesn't want Froggy to lose his effing mind, and lose it in front of people, or who knows what's going to happen if Melissa and Froggy are leading a marriage study. We're not leading a marriage study. We're doing a Bible study. And then they talked about, they turned it into a marriage study. They could not figure out. And we told him, I think every single class, Froggy and I said, this isn't a marriage Bible study. Because they wanted to give marital advice. We're not talking about marriage in this Bible study. This is a Bible study for married people. But we're not talking about marriage.
Well, and you would have thought that it would have been really easy for them to grasp, because you were basically taking what Froggy's sister had taught, using that study method.
Yes.
And you were using that week after week after week.
Going through
scripture.
And that's it.
Yeah, it was not like, just marriage scripture, just...
Right. I think we did the book of Genesis. I love the book of Genesis. I think we did the book of Genesis, right? And so we were like, hey, Genesis chapter 1, here's the study tool. Let's go read it during the week. Use this plan. We're going to come back as married people and discuss what you wrote down in your notes. And it was really great until they showed up.
Yeah.
Like it was actually going really well. Like the first couple, and maybe it was the third week they showed up. The first couple of times, like people were like getting it.
Which that's how it happened in my, like when I went chronologically through the Bible with the women. It was going phenomenally until Charlotte's mom showed up.
Yeah. And then they showed up, and every time we would say, we would be like, what'd you get out of like verse 3 through 4? Right. And people would go around and be like, oh yeah, I saw it this way. And I thought this was so cool. It's like the first time I ever like thought about it like this. And we'd be like, yeah. Oh, me too. Or, oh, that's so cool. I never thought about it that way either. But like, if you think about it, yeah, that's great. Like we were having these awesome conversations, and then they would talk and be like, well, for married people, this verse really means shut up. And then you ditched out on me, and Brandy was like ditching out, or she was there, or sometimes Jason was there. Sometimes he was, I don't know. It was like ridiculous. Okay. And I was like, losing my ever loving mind. So that was the Bible study for married people.
And it continued for a few weeks. But in the midst of all of this, you and Brandy are also trying to plan women's retreat.
Burning Butterflies is a listener-supported podcast. Today's episode was brought to you by our amazing supporters on Patreon.
Follow the link in our show notes to learn how you can become a Patreon supporter too. Supporters get exclusive access to bonus content each month, including outtakes, cut content, and supporter-only episodes. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating on your listening platform.
Burning Butterflies is a production of Asha Media. Thank you for listening.